what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur Exchange on the Mesh Podcast Network, a monthly conversation about startups and small business with ideas, tools, and advice to operate your business more effectively. On today's show, do you know the difference between a software company and an enterprise solution company? I'm not sure that I do, but listen up. We're going to be joined by Brandon Lee, who has started a business called Terra Dotta to assist colleges and universities with managing study abroad and international travel. He'll explain some of the differences and talk about his startup journey. We'll also be sharing some of our small businesses of the month, where we'll be checking out some interesting businesses that you should know about. My name is Jeff Newville. I'm your co-host. I'm director of the Small Business Center at Catawba Valley Community College in Hickory, North Carolina. I'm joined by my co-host, Gary Muller, who is the dean of most activities at Catawba Valley Community College. Gary, how are you doing today?
Jeff, I'm doing great. A lot of activities happening at the college.
It's
always exciting that we are fully in person in my school, and then a great part of the college is coming back to campus. So it feels really good to see cars and students on campus.
But you're being safe. People have masks on. People are staying distance.
Yeah, we're really staying close to our safety protocols. Masks. We used to have temperature checks. We stopped that at the beginning of the semester, but knock wood, we're doing well.
Well, very good. And we always like to check in. Just for our listeners to know, Gary went to Wake Forest. He's a very proud Demon Deacon. His college football team is undefeated in the top
7-0.
20, top 15, top 10.
Number 13
in the country.
Not a lucky number for me, but we're excited. First time in 81 years.
Well, we hope that we don't jinx you and that continues good fortunes to the Wake Forest football team.
Yes, we're very excited. But yes, I don't talk much about it because I don't want to jinx it.
Okay.
But thank you for saying that.
Okay. Well, we have a guest with us today that we'd like to welcome. Brandon Lee is with us. Brandon, how are you doing?
Doing great. Happy to be here.
We're glad you're here.
Brandon worked in management and sales at a number of companies, but he decided to take an academic path and was getting a PhD in French Lit at UNC Chapel Hill, my college, when he started a software company in 2001. The name of the company is Terra Dotta. It serves the higher education market, and he and his partner started, I guess, as a consulting company and gravitated to a software solution with a global client base. Brandon retired as CEO in 2019, and he's been part of the entrepreneur community in our area in Western North Carolina. In addition to being chairman of the board of Terra Dotta, he now owns a local golf course, Players Ridge Golf Course, and also in his spare time, he's teaching at Lenoir-Rhyne University. I would have assumed you were teaching business or entrepreneurship type classes, but Brandon shared with us earlier that he's teaching English classes. So you're a versatile guy, Brandon.
Yeah, jack of all trades. That's when you start a small business, you don't have the choice. You have to be able to do a little bit of everything. I am teaching the entrepreneurship capstone course next semester at Lenoir-Rhyne. So
okay,
I've taught in multiple departments.
Well, I mean, you seem pretty versatile. If we needed a French professor, would you be able to handle that as well?
I certainly would.
Okay.
It's not in my school, but the entrepreneurship is.
No hablo francés
No.
for me. So anyway, but it's good to know that we've got a resource if needed. But really appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit about Terra Dotta, which is the company that you formed in 2001. Tell us a little bit more about what it does and who your customers are.
So I will say, to go back to the consulting piece, we wanted to, we were getting our PhDs. All we had left to do was write that little dissertation. That's all my partner and I had left. We're like, we're going to take 6 months off because we'd been doing a lot of consulting at the university and building products at UNC Chapel Hill. We're like, let's see what we can do in the larger world. So we opened up the company and, we had very small ambitions at first. We were going to get rid of Blackboard, which was a huge company and is much larger now. So we built a number of products, but one of the products that we'd created at UNC Chapel Hill was for the Office of Study Abroad. And they wanted to double the amount of students they were sending abroad without adding any staff. And the only way to do that, because it's such a heavy, there's so much paperwork to fill out and tracking to do, was to have a technology solution. So before we started the company, while we're still grad students, we built a product for them in about 18 months, working pretty much full time, that they use to manage their study abroad. So anyway, we start the company, Terra, Dotta, create a couple of products. We get a call one day from UNC Chapel Hill, and they're like, we're doing a presentation in San Antonio about the software, but we don't know what to say. Would you guys fly down and do it? And we're like, we have no money. They're like, no, we'll pay for you to go. Don't worry about it. Okay, we'll go. We're in. So we go down there, and we didn't know what to expect. And we walk into the hall where we were going to present the software, and there were 300 people in the hall from different study abroad offices all over the world. And we showed the software, and there were a lot of mouths agape, and this is so exciting. And then
you sort of walked into the right client base.
We walked into the right client base. And then, of course, two people had to ask at the end, how much does it cost and how long does it take? And I'm like, well, you can get a good start for $200,000, and it'll probably take, a couple of years to get anything. Everyone was really upset. And then someone who's a very good friend of mine now, John Tansey from Dartmouth, came up afterwards and said, if you turn this into a product, I'll build it, or I'll buy it. And I'm like, well, sure you will, whatever. He calls the next week. He's like, I need you guys to fly up to Dartmouth. I need you to present what you do. So we flew up there, and we walked away with, we're going to build this as a commercial product. And then it went crazy after that. We started, Dartmouth College was our first client. And then, we obviously I have a study abroad history, so I knew a bunch of people in the field, and we ended up picking up more clients. And within 2 or 3 years, we decided all those other products that we'd spent all that time with had to go away. So we became, for a few years, a study abroad company. Meaning that so offices would we'd be their website. They'd market all their programs. Students would log in, fill out everything online. They'd sign all their signature documents. And this is early days of signature documents, but because we were integrated with the university systems, we could verify identity, so it was legal. It solved a lot of legal problems for universities because they would forget to get waivers from students, and then there would be an accident, and there were lawsuits available. So we became a compliance tool. So that's one part of what we do. But I will say, in all the years that we've been doing it, we went from having a handful of institutions to now it's over 75% of students who leave the United States on credit-bearing study abroad are in Terra Dotta software. So that's a really good market share, and we have clients in a number of other countries as well. But then as we kept going, we realized that there was more needed for the institutions. They really had to, because of that compliance piece, they really needed to be able to handle risk management, risk mitigation. So if a bomb goes off in Paris, for example, universities could not find who was in Paris. They'd go to 7 different offices who are sending faculty or students abroad and say, who do you have? And they'd go, we don't know. We'll try to find out. We'll go through the paper files. So then we grew in risk management, and we were tracking everybody. And, of course, this is a long answer. Is this okay?
This is great.
Okay. And then
we're still with you. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. If you start zoning out, I'll tell it. No. And then when bad things happened, the unrest in Egypt and the meltdown in the nuclear facility in Japan, our business went through the roof because the universities that had our software were able to find out who was there and contact them within 15 minutes, where there was on the front page of some newspapers 2 weeks later, and universities are having to say, we don't know who's there. So risk management became big for us, and that continues to grow. We have a fantastic mobile app now that allows people to check in, to get real-time alerts. If there's a shooting, you don't necessarily know that unless it pops up on your thing saying, hey, there's a shooting 3 blocks away from you. So lots of different features in that regard. And then the final big product that, I was a major part of while still CEO was were incoming international students. Incoming international students, by and large, are the best moneymaker for every university in the country. They are paying full freight, which virtually nobody does, except these international students. So they're very important to institutions. And it's a pain to manage that because you need to get data from the students and you've got to share that data with the Department of Homeland Security. You might get notices back that you got to go back to the student and say, we have a problem with this piece of data or it's not matching. So we automated all that in the same way. So our software, people apply, the data is automatically sent over to the Department of Homeland Security. It's looked at, it comes back automatically. So it speeds everything up. And again, compliance, you know that everyone is keeping on board. So I will just finish this by saying we were a software company when it was study abroad. We had a point solution for one office at the institution. Mm-hmm. Now we are an enterprise solution because we go into the institution and we might be handling issues for 20 offices and it's all interconnected. It needs a lot of data sharing. I think that's a quick overview.
So I was going to say, so if the student is, say, from Dartmouth or from Chapel Hill or from wherever, are they, and I'm going on a study abroad program, are they interacting with Terra Dotta or are they interacting with their college's website or how does that work?
So our software is the website for the study abroad office or that business unit. And you can't tell it's Terra Dotta. Right. So it just looks like, we skin it to look, we make the website look just like the rest of the university.
But behind the scenes, it's you.
It's us. We're the engine that's making everything happen.
Okay. All right.
Did you work with NC State?
NC State was one of our earliest clients, too.
So my daughter probably worked through you.
She probably did. Yeah.
And she got back safely.
She did it twice.
Okay,
yes.
There you go.
See, we like recidivist travelers.
It went so well the first time, she went again.
That's wonderful.
So when Gary and I talk to people who have started businesses or talk to people about starting a business, one of the things that we always talk about is that it seems like the most successful businesses are those that are solving problems and that the founder might have identified either a problem or some sort of gap out there. How did you guys stumble across this? Was it through your travel? Was it just like saying, "Hey, there's a need here"? Is there a certain problem that you were trying to solve, or how would you characterize that?
So a lot of the consulting that we were doing at Chapel Hill for the university, we were just building different little software products for different business units, and it happened to be one of the earlier things that we built was. For a publication, and we built a database, a billing, and it was so long ago, it's hard to remember, but we built a solution for one of the publications on campus, and it made their business go quite a bit better. The guy who was in charge of that became the associate director of study abroad, and he brought us in and, really asked for us to do this. I mean, so I spent my senior year in high school in France, so I'm very familiar with study abroad. I took a group of North Carolina students from Elon and NC State and Chapel Hill, to Paris for 6 months as a grad student. My business partner studied in Spain at undergrad, and he did a year of research in Spain during grad school. So we love international. I mean, we're very excited about mobility. We think it changes the world and everything else. But I got to be honest with you, it wasn't our idea to build study abroad software. We were filling gaps while at UNC with products like Blackboard, because as language teachers, we wanted audio and video on the web, and nobody really had that yet. So we actually worked and created that at the time. Of course, everyone's caught up now, but so no, I mean, in that regard. Now the rest of them, the risk management, all the other things we do, contract management, or agreements management, that was from a phenomenal amount of research, talking to universities, finding out where their pain points are, finding out what would change their lives materially. So it sounds like your work has been very
programming intensive. You're not a programmer. You're a sales guy. How did you? I don't know what your partner is. I don't know if he is a programmer. Yes, no, maybe.
Technically, yes. He was part of that AT&T program where they looked for musicians about 6 years ago, and because there's a link to music and analytical ability. So they would actually find people who are musicians and then teach them to become programmers. So he went through an AT&T programming course and then was a programmer for, I don't know how long, 18 months before he went to grad school for Spanish. So he is technically a programmer. But yeah, the question's very valid. I mean, so when it started and it was the two of us in the spare bedroom of the condo, I had to program. So I learned to program, and we had a joke. And my business partner Garrett Christian, we would say, because I was mostly French, he was mostly Spanish, but we had philology. Actually, he was philology, and I had a philology minor, which philology, love of Latin languages. So I joke that I only studied like 7 languages in grad school, but I think he did 13.
Okay.
I'm a little intimidated. Right
and
now.
computer programming they're just languages. You just learn a syntax and it makes sense. And if you've done languages, it makes it easier. I hated it. So, I was really happy when we were able to hire programmers. But I mean, we were full life cycle, everything. I mean, we marketed ourselves. We did all of our own video production. We did the graphics. We did our first websites. We sold the software. I was the sole salesperson for years until we got a very large sales team. But we supported it, so it was all in-house support, and everything. So it was a full life cycle of the industry. We didn't outsource anything.
So, I mean, that's pretty impressive, in that considering the solution that you came up with. But over time, you built a pretty, large organization. How many people are in your business now, or in Terra Dotta?
There's globally, and it depends how we count all the different people who work for us full time but are not payroll. They're consultants or contracted, but probably in the 100-person range.
Yeah. So you've had to build an organization and structure as the company has grown to support the business. And that can be a challenge as well, finding the right people and keeping the right people. I mean, any wisdom you can share with us in terms of putting your team together and finding and keeping the right people?
Yeah, I would say what we did early on was we would find people in the field were so excited about Terra Dotta that people wanted to come work for us, which isn't unusual, but they love the software. They love what we did. As one person told me, I can make a difference at one university, or if I come to work for you, I can make a difference at hundreds of universities. So very much we had and have a lot of zealots who work for us, people who love the field and they feel that this is, as much a job as a mission.
So very passionate about what you're doing.
Very passionate. And it's not always easy to be in a field where you can find people that are passionate about what they do. But so we were very lucky in that regard. The other thing that we did was we brought in a guy who's actually my uncle. In 2008, there's a bit of an economic issue going on there, and we're like, "Ooh, these are tough days."
We heard about that.
Yeah. But we brought him in as a partner, and he quit his job. He was some sort of director of IT at Land O'Lakes, so he came in and he had that corporate experience. And we joked back then, because it wouldn't work now, that we had somebody with gray hair, but it was very helpful because he had done everything, all the HR, all the, all the building. So having that advisor was very critical to us. But yeah, I mean, and then I'd say the third thing is, I guess that's two different pieces, but getting good people, making sure you're treating people right, which I see a lot of companies don't do. But if you've got a great employee, if you've got a rock star, you need to do whatever you can to keep that rock star happy and engaged. You need to give that person an opportunity to change what they do, so they don't feel like they're stuck in one position because they're so good at it. You couldn't put anyone else there. Well, if they're good at it, they can replace themselves and take a different role and grow. So I think I'm kind of losing where I'm going with the answer to the question. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, you did. Okay. All the things you did as the business grew. I think that's critical because it's okay at one level, but it may not be at another level.
And you've got to be
right
agile.
people.
You've got to
Exactly.
change. Very much early on, we had cheerleader clients who were so excited, and there'd be a mistake in the software. And this is a long time ago, but there'd be a problem and they would be like, it's okay. And just when you get around to it, it'd be really nice if it was soon. And it's not like that now. If there's a problem, you get
need it now
calls and it needs to be, it's business critical.
Yeah.
And we obviously had to make those adjustments over time, which was important to do. And then the other things, as far as being agile, we had an advisory board for a very long time where we brought in, people in the field and a couple people out of the field. And that was really helpful to talk through a lot of our ideas and what we wanted to do. And they would come in and tell us what we're doing wrong. So that was great.
Well, and I like to come back to the advisory board concept, and that a lot of privately held companies, smaller companies we work with don't always see the benefit of having an advisory board and really don't know how to put that together. But just having the opportunity to bounce around ideas with other people with different perspectives can be very, very valuable to you. I assume that's the way you looked at it.
Very much so. And I think advisory boards are critical, and they should be done at an earlier stage for many companies. Especially when you're in the trenches right in the beginning, and you've got no top level view of what's going on. You're handling crisis after crisis. My job back then is I have a great job. I get to choose any 80 hours in a week I want to work.
That's right.
But I can do them whenever I want. And if a problem from Australia comes in at 2 a.m, then I'm up at 2 a.m. fixing that. So getting an advisory board is very important. And it gives you just some perspective that you're not able to get. And of course, board of directors, which is a different group of people, even more so. They can really, especially if you bring in the right people on the board who've grown similar types of companies, then you really get a better view of what you're doing, and questions where you say, no, we couldn't possibly do that. Then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, we could do that. I've said no to that a lot, but we should have been doing that all along. So.
This podcast is sponsored by Jackson Creative, a custom communication agency located in downtown Hickory, North Carolina, specializing in online content creation. To learn more, visit thejacksoncreative.com. Jackson Creative, we tell your story.
Well, advisory boards are important to our school too, aren't they? No, we have one for every program.
That's
I'm
great.
kidding, because he's got one coming up next week. And sometimes our program directors, not this one, of course, Jeff Newell, because he's a superstar.
Right.
But they look at it as checking a box.
Mm-hmm.
I have to take 2 advisory committee meetings a year, and I'm going to go through the motion. And we're really trying to get all of our people to realize how important it is. It does sound kind of corny, but you do need an outside person to look at it. I think that sometimes with business owners, when you get your business, you don't necessarily want somebody to tell you that, hey, you need to do this or do that. Same thing happens with our academic programs too. So we're pushing it hard.
Well, I think the successful businesses are open-minded enough to recognize that they don't know everything and are open to those ideas.
Well, I think that's key, that we don't know everything.
And I don't think it's corny at all. Especially if you don't have any investment in the company and you're bootstrapping it and it's all on you. If you're the CEO, I think you need to treat an advisory board like it's a board of directors, like there's a financial, and they need to prepare for that, because that is the one or 2 or 3 times a year that they are accountable to somebody.
Exactly.
And they should treat it like accountability.
Yep. And the people giving the input don't have a vested interest, so they're telling you the truth,
Right.
how they perceive it to be.
And if you're a small company, you don't have a big budget for that, at least get them a nice lunch or something and be prepared and
Jason's.
Well, whatever.
Chick-fil-A.
But,
That's what we have for us.
Outback is
Oh, yeah.
nice. Anyway.
Outback was even better.
Yeah. I know, particularly for a software company, and which is what you started as, and before you grew into a larger company, funding becomes such an issue. And that I've seen people that have great ideas for a software product, but it's hard to fund it until you can show some sort of progress, so show some sort of traction in the marketplace. So tell us a little bit about your experience in securing funding for your business, and give us any advice for folks that might be listening that have an idea for a software product. And that's great, but I need some money. I might not be I might not be a programmer. I might need a contractor to help me with programs. So how do you think about that, and how did you work through that?
So the way we worked through it was, we were just self-funded. Like I said, we started out of the spare bedroom in the condo that my wife and I lived in, and we were there for about 14 months until, and we were lucky. I mean, we had a pretty good path here, but we initially were in consulting because you need money. If you just want to build a software product, you can't do that overnight. Now, I will caveat that by saying you kind of can build it overnight now because of all the offshore and outsourcing that you can do. So if you have an idea, and there's problems with that too, you have an idea and you ask someone to build it, what you get back is not going to be what you asked for. So you need to have that management experience and that level of detail where you understand that whatever you order or request or whatever commission is going to be problematic at first, and it's going to have to be iterated multiple times to get it in a position you need it. But back then, that really wasn't a possibility. So we needed to go out and get consulting jobs. So I think I got 4 or 5 consulting jobs. And then the first product, and I'm like, this is horrible. I'm spending 90% of my time selling, and we're not getting anything else done. I'm not getting anything else done. Garrett was working very hard building the things. Mm-hmm. So we decided immediately we wanted to be a software company, and we built that competitor to Blackboard, and we sold it to a dozen universities. And that kept us going for a while. And then, of course, the study abroad thing hit. So, and we continued to be self-funded for quite a while. But then at the point when we really wanted to get going with, the incoming side, the incoming students, faculty and staff, we decided we wanted to take an investment. But, we were 10 years in at that point.
Had a track record.
We had a track record, yeah. So, I kind of all over the board there. But, I mean, it's really hard to, unless you have funding, unless you find someone who wants to fund you, if you just want to start a software company, if it's a small app, that you can do that. If you want to create kind of what we did, I mean, even with a team of programmers, it would take, you'd need a couple of years of funding.
So it's sort of like you didn't quit your day job. You were doing consulting to bring in some income while this was going on, don't know. I don't think I've met your wife. Maybe she was supporting you at that point in time.
And I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, both of our wives. My wife was. She was a grad student at first, but then she was an associate or a visiting professor at Sweetbriar College for a couple of years, and Garrett's wife was working at Quintiles. But yeah, they supported us.
Yeah. So pro tip, marry the right woman or the right person. Get the right spouse to help support you during your startup.
Yeah, and then there's always those early issues of, usually once you have a location and staff, cash flow becomes such a horrible pain. You're like, oh my gosh, there's payroll on Friday, and this check was supposed to come in 2 weeks ago, and it's not in. So then, we had to borrow money from from family a couple of times. Got it right back to them, but.
Well, those are the key things that people don't think about when you're looking at the outside. That, like I say, made a sale, but it's not a sale until we get the check, we get the money in the bank. We talk about that all the time.
Well, I guess when you're working with the institutions. Speaking from the one that Gary and I work with, sometimes things don't get paid as quickly as you'd like, and if you're the vendor out there waiting for that check to come in because you've got to pay people or pay your vendors, you have to sweat a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we had people that would be a year late. Universities would be a year late, and it's like, we're a small company. We could we could use that.
Cash flow is critical.
Go ahead.
A question came up when you were talking. What about protecting your ideas? You're doing that in software. I mean, as you're starting a business, and your ideas, your value. And you're using consultants and different people. When you talk about overseas, because I did a lot of business overseas before I came to the college, and that was one of the big things we always had to worry about, protecting our technology. And
yeah, and that's a good question. A question we dealt with over all the years, but essentially technology can be copied. Mm-hmm. I mean, even if you just show somebody, how the app works and not give them the code, right, they can reverse engineer that very
that's what
quickly.
I was thinking.
It was more the fact that we were so deep into the business needs of our clients where, I would talk to them, initially me, but then many other people would talk to them multiple times a year at conferences or whatever, and really sit down and be able to understand what they needed. And, it's a very complicated process. If, you've got 2,000 students studying abroad, and the way that it used to be, there could have been 300 different types of applications that you had to manage because, some applications have a foreign language requirement, some have a homestay requirement, some have, prerequisites and all these things. So building something that is, seamless and easy to look at takes a lot of the business knowledge. You can throw a form up to apply for something or to track people very easily, but it's the how they all work together. We weren't that worried about people trying to steal the code.
Customizing solutions.
We didn't. Well, actually, no, we wouldn't customize.
Okay.
We would tell people customizations are very expensive for the client and for the software company. Right. And then if you customize for somebody, you need to update that every time you have a release. Mm-hmm. So we'd say no, but here's what we'll do. We came up with a form where they could put in the ideas they want, just like Salesforce and other companies do. And then other people would vote on them, and we'd say, oh, this is a very important thing. Then we do a focus group on it or meet at a conference and discuss it with several people. And then we would make it part of the core code so everybody could use it. So that's kind of how we handled that, yeah.
So you started Terra Dotta 20 years ago, and you've sort of gone through a transition from, I guess, the everyday operation of the company to now you're operating a golf course and the owner of a golf course, and you're the chairman of Terra Dotta. I mean, is that sort of your baby? How has that transition gone for you? Has it been good? Are you missing anything, or is owning a golf course fulfill that whatever hole might have been left there?
It's gone well. I mean, so we had investors come in a number of years ago, and I was very worried about working with an investment company because I'd heard all the horror stories that we've all heard, and I was very clear with them that I did not want to live through a horror story. And I was actually I'd spoken to, I still get probably 50 people a week trying to buy Terra Dotta. They're calling me, they're emailing me, but a few years ago it was a couple hundred. A few hundred a month would desperately try to get in, because it was a growing company, everyone wanted to buy it. And so I had spoken to a few investment companies, and they all wanted controlling interests, which I wasn't interested in. The company that we ended up going with have been fantastic partners, and they came as a minority partner, and got a lot of trust over years. So no, when I was retiring, I felt very good about it. We worked together to hire the new CEO, and he's doing a fantastic job. And is it hard? I mean, it's a little hard to change, but with growth, the guy we brought in is great, and he has taken a company from the level we're at to 10 times that size. So I've got no issue with that, and I enjoy going back to the board meetings. I've got one in a couple weeks, and it's great to see.
That's good. I mean, it can be a challenging transition as someone who grew up in a family business and watched private investment come in and sort of mangle it beyond recognition. It doesn't always work out well. So I'm glad it's working for you.
And I know I've got a lot of friends who went through that. But no, that's not the case. And I love the golf course. It's been a fun challenge, to go from, things I'd never had to think about before. Physical locations were just offices. There's no warehouse. There's no ordering things. So now it's a restaurant, bar, 18-hole golf course, live event venue. It's a challenge. It's fun.
Oh, good.
But
good.
I got a good team there too, so we're on the way.
That's the key. Keep talking about it. It's people.
Yeah. Oh, that's the number one thing. I mean, anybody who thinks, they've got an outsized ego and they think that they can be the end all of everything, that's a problem. You need to find the right people, and you need to find a way to keep those people there and happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got any other parting thoughts for our listeners who might be thinking about starting or growing their business?
Tell you a funny story if I could. So, we went to a large international education conference every year. It was our biggest event of the year every year. It was about 10,000 person conference. People from all over the world would come. And one of the biggest ways to network were parties. And we tried to throw a party one year and we had like a dozen people show up, like pitying us because, but the reason is because every night there were like a dozen to 20 parties. And, we were competing with like France was throwing a party that night, or Canada. And they have these giant venues. So we're like, we can't do that. We can't do that. And it costs too much. The next year we actually did a dinner. We're like, that worked really well, but we'll go out of business if we do that. So the following year I did one of the most amusing and fun things that we've ever done, which was I said, we're going to have a karaoke event at this conference. And my whole staff is like, that's insane. It's a horrible idea. I go, well, we're going to try it because then we only have to provide some appetizers. And, so that first night that we did it was, there was probably 70 people there, but they had the best time and it was the talk of the conference all week. Next year, it got a little bit bigger. By the end, we were, for the last several years, we were renting out House of Blues or Hard Rock Cafe and having 700 people. It was the big list everyone wanted to be on. And I really just picked it because it was affordable in the beginning. All I had to do was, rent a small room at a restaurant or bar and, paid $150 for a karaoke person. And we could afford it. Now, when you rent out House of Blues, it ends up costing quite a bit more.
I bet.
And feeding 700 people. But it was just finding that niche. And we became known as, the karaoke.
As the karaoke guys?
So it was one of those things that just worked out really well by, following things that you like. We like to sing, so we thought it'd be fun to do, and it worked out well.
Affordable and fun.
Yeah.
Well,
Then it got a little bit more expensive as it got more popular.
Well, you're going to have to buy me some beers before you get me to sing, Brandon.
I can do that.
Okay.
My wife told me I'm not allowed to sing in public or dance.
We're gonna have karaoke nights at Players Ridge, so you guys can come on out and sing.
There we go.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate you joining us today. You up for our lightning round? We're going to ask you some fun questions.
See, I am very much up for it, but I'm one of those people where my kids will say, what's your favorite movie? And I'm like, okay, it's going to take about 45 minutes because I got to go through a lot of caveats. But this time I will just answer.
Okay, I'm going to take that one off my list.
Oh, no, it's fine.
But our lightning round this month is sponsored by Ned Ryerson Insurance, Whole Life, Auto, Flood, Home. You can't have enough insurance. Am I right? Or am I right?
Absolutely.
Stay safe with Ned Ryerson Insurance. Check it out on the internet. So we're going to ask you some quick questions, quick answers. Don't agonize too much.
Okay, I won't.
What is your biggest pet peeve?
People being late. I always said if you're 5 minutes earlier, you're only 10 minutes late.
There you go.
The Tom Coughlin School of Management there. Okay. Favorite vacation spot?
Paris.
Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Beatles.
Favorite Halloween candy?
The Reese's, the Reese's pumpkins.
Oh, Reese's.
Pumpkin.
Oh,
Yeah, they need more peanut butter to chocolate ratio.
I'm a Reese's guy myself.
I'm more like the cup. Yeah,
I
myself.
like them
All
too.
right. Do you have a TV or movie streaming recommendation for people?
I just watched Inside Job on Netflix, and it's hilarious, but it's definitely TV MA, but it's really good. It's
Okay. Inside Job.
Inside Job.
I'm writing that down. I can handle a little MA. Jack Nicklaus, Phil Mickelson, or Tiger Woods?
Yeah, I'm going to go Tiger. I mean, he changed the whole world of golf in a way that others haven't.
Can't go wrong with any of those.
I know they're very good
What
options.
about Arnold Palmer?
Not on my list.
I know.
Very good drink, though.
Says the Wake Forest.
There you go.
Says the Wake Forest
Says
guy.
the Wake
All right.
Forest guy. That's exactly right.
Finally, last question. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Flight.
Flight. A good one. We'd like to fly.
Yes.
I think that's a good one. I'd be with you on that one. All right, Brandon, we really appreciate you joining us today. If people are looking for Terra Dotta or your golf course, Players Ridge, where should they be looking? Where can we find you?
Terradotta.com. Terradotta. It's a Latin joke meaning learned world. And then Players Ridge is playersridge.golf.
Playersridge.golf. And Players technically is, I think that's Alexander County, or where do we live?
It's Alexander County, but it's a Hickory address.
Okay, so if you're in the western North Carolina area, want to get a good 18 in, Players Ridge Golf Course.
Great
Come see
layout.
us.
You been there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
One of my sons played high school golf there, and I've been there several times.
Okay, very good. I hear it's better now.
I'm sure it is.
All right, we always like to wind up with some small businesses that people should be checking out, and we'll let our guests go first. Brandon, do you have something that you'd like to share with us, a small business that you want, in addition to Players Ridge and Terra Dotta?
Sure. So I'm going to pick the Hub, which is Andrew Moose's and his partner's new live music venue here in Hickory.
The Hum.
The Hum. I'm sorry. The
Yeah,
Hum.
the
And it's
Hum.
the hum.live is the address. But it's right in downtown Hickory, and I think downtown Hickory is doing amazing. And I think them bringing in live music all the time is only going to make us better.
So the Hum, and they actually had their opening weekend last weekend, and have other exciting things planned out. So Gary, we're either going to drag you
I'm
down
going to do
down
it,
to the Hum
particularly for
and
Moose.
check it out.
I will definitely do it.
When we get some real hard rock going.
There we go. That'd be me.
All right. Gary, what is your small business of the month?
I'm just going to highlight briefly two businesses one that started in downtown Conover. Of course, that's what I've been doing the last handful of months, is just spotlighting new businesses starting during COVID, which has been a lot. One is 1877 Pub and Grub. Have you all heard about it?
Not yet. Tell us.
Good. I'm getting ready to go there. I mean, it looks like, of course, I'm allergic to alcohol, but I love food. So I'm going to check it out, and I'll let you know next month. And then another thing that I've gone by, Holly and Ivy Inn in Newton. It was actually a family that their kids went to school with Lawson, one of our sons. And so in his beautiful home, as you're coming in, depending on, beautiful, and they've set it up into a bed and breakfast.
Okay.
And it looks really cool. I may try that out too.
And what's the name of it again?
Holly and Ivy.
Holly and Ivy. Okay. Well, we'll be checking those out.
I'm looking forward to trying both of those.
So I stumbled across a company called Green Life Tech, which is a company that is working on creating a new product called Fresh Defend, which is a small countertop product that makes your fruits and vegetables last 5 times longer, saving you money.
There you go.
So, and Gary, from what I know about your diet, I'm not sure you have a lot of fruits and vegetables at your home.
Well, the answer is my wife loves fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
So we do have a lot. So this is something that will work for the Mahler family, at least half of it.
Well, they've come up with a technology that eliminates atmospheric oxygen, which can extend the consumable life of your produce up to 5 times. Wow. So if you've got like bananas that are going bad, you put them in this. It's like a little countertop thing that's got a lid. You close it, and as opposed to your bananas going bad in a few days, they'll last for a couple of weeks. If you've got like your apples and oranges, they'll last up to 2 months. So you can save yourself some money. The return on investment, and there's less food waste, good for everybody. So anyway, it's a company called Green Life Tech, and if you go to greenlifetech.com, you can learn more about them. So that's a small business that you should be checking out. So anyway, appreciate, Brandon, you joining us today. Enjoyed the conversation and chance to learn more about Terra Dotta and what you've gone through to get it where it is and your whole experience. Gary, always good to see you.
Great to see you.
And listeners, if you've got a suggestion for our Entrepreneur Exchange Small Business of the Month, you can email them to us at eexchange@themesh.tv. And if we use yours, we'll send you one of our fabulous Entrepreneur Exchange prize packs. We want to thank the Mesh.tv for hosting us today, and we encourage you to go and check out all the cool podcasts they're doing at the Mesh.tv. It's Halloween here. Enjoy your candy. Stay safe, and we'll look forward to talking to you again next month.
Take care.
Thanks.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.